elections official services for the March 3rd, 2015 general municipal election. Could we have a staff report, please, City Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This item is on the agenda at the request of the mayor, and we've taken a look at the legal implications of it. The city council certainly has the legal authority under the general law of the state of California to designate whomever it wants to serve as your elections official. There is some precedent for doing that, at least in the context of the city clerk running for the mayor. The city clerk's office has done some investigation and has found a retired elections official expert who has had considerable experience administering elections, who has offered to conduct these services on a fee basis, on a fee for services basis, not to exceed $25,000. If the council is of a mind to proceed in that direction, then it would need to adopt the resolution that's attached to the staff report, which would designate this individual as your elections official for the purposes of the March 3, 2015 election, and only for that election. Thank you, and I'll be pleased to respond to questions.
Okay. City manager, have any?
And apparently the potential candidate is here in the audience. I have not personally met her, and I didn't mean to ignore her, but if you have specific questions for her, you're welcome to invite her up.
Okay, would you please come to the podium? Hello. Will you please state your name and address for the record?
Deborah Wright, 3560 Curry, City of Long Beach.
Okay. And you feel confident that you have the prior experience to operate this election?
I believe I do, yeah.
Could you outline that a little bit, please?
Sure. I first began working in municipal elections. There. Sorry. In the city of Long Beach, 1991, and it was excellent experience because it's fairly broad and fairly deep as well. All the aspects. At that time, we did all of our own ballot tabulation and programming of ballot tabulation, plus all the normal tasks that go into conducting municipal elections. City of Long Beach, as you probably know, has council districts, so it was a little bit more complex. We conducted the elections for school board and college districts as well. From that, I went into assisting cities with their elections. I spent several years as a consultant, worked with cities of Malibu, Beverly Hills, Paramount. It's been a while, back in the late 90s, so it's hard to remember all of them. And then from there, I went to work for the county registrar voters as the liaison, and part of my responsibility involved working with the 88 cities in the county to items of mutual interest. So we held every other year we held summits with the cities. We tried to keep cities informed, and we partnered with them back when touchscreen voting was still legal, which it is not any longer. We had several cities that used our touchscreen equipment to do their own elections. City of Carson was a gracious host for early voting on touchscreen. And so I'm very familiar with election law. As the city attorney can vouch, the election laws for general law cities are very clear. The state of California actually has some of the best election laws in the United States. So it's very clear what the responsibilities of the election official and the everyone that's involved in the process are. So.
And how did you find out about this potential consulting job?
Your city clerk contacted me. She had heard, I know a lot of people in the industry. I've never actually worked directly with Ms. Gauss, but I know her and I know of her. And she heard through other contacts in the industry that I was retired and asked me if I'd be interested in possibly working with the city. So.
Okay, so do you have other people that you would be working with that are like working with you, or you'd be working with our city staff?
With city staff, typically in the past when I've done this type of consulting, I've never done it for a city with an elected city clerk. In the other instances, it was usually new city clerks that needed guidance and sort of a hand-holding to get started. But typically city staff would do the tasks that they're familiar with, and I would see my role as making sure that they have someone they can ask questions of and that they can get direction and guidance. There are areas that fall in the intersection between law and city custom and policy, and I would anticipate talking with your city attorney or city manager depending on what. For example, I think a concrete example helps. The area where there's usually the most drama prior to an election is the ballot designation for candidates. You all know it's 3 words, and one would think that any normal person would be able to express in 3 words what they did for a living last year. But some of our candidates have trouble with that. So, every city handles that a little bit differently. Some are very, very strict. Some have a little bit, broader guidelines. And so that's an area where I would anticipate either assisting staff or myself talking with the city attorney and getting a feeling for how the city wants to handle it so that you're consistent throughout the process.
Yeah, that makes sense. We usually follow the county's guidelines.
That's a
County
good idea. That's good protection. I mean, ultimately, I would see my job is to, protect the city and certainly act on behalf of the voters of the city of Carson. So I think it's wise to stay in line with those that have a lot of experience.
Okay, let's go to Councilmember Davis Holmes.
I have no question for you. I have a comment to make. You come fully equipped. You're not, well, I guess I do. You're not actually counting the votes, are you?
Pardon me?
You're not actually counting the votes over there. I heard you say guidance and so forth and ask questions and all of that.
My understanding is that the city contracts with a vendor, Martin and Chapman, to provide the actual ballots and printing services, and that they generally will send people to do the actual tabulation on election night.
And that's why I have a problem here, because now we're bringing in someone that's going to give advice. We already have somebody that's counting votes. I'm not talking to you, sweetie. I'm sorry. You can have your seat.
I understand.
That's something that our city clerk can do. She's not counting votes. The way this agenda item, I'm insulted. I'm insulted for you, Donisha. I'm insulted that you wouldn't found somebody. Myself. You just assumed this was a done deal, so you went and found somebody. That's what you did. That is our city clerk's job, and Helen Kyle-Gore did it for years. The only time she didn't do it is when there was a mayoral race. I'm hearing that all she's going to do is give advice and ask questions. She has no contact with votes. Did I miss something? What else is she going to be doing? What else are you going to be doing for $25,000 that our city clerk can't do?
Council member, I don't disagree with you. When your city clerk contacted me, that was part of my question. Is that, was the service really needed? But if it is the pleasure of your council,
it may be the pleasure, and I don't need to get into a debate to enhance the independence of elections and officials ensuring a fair and impartial election. Come on, folks. A fair and impartial election. All she's going to do is ask questions and do guidelines, and then I hear somebody say that we follow the county guidelines, and I look at our city clerk, and is that true, Miss Donisha Goss?
The question was relative to ballot designations, and we follow state law, which is the same law that the county follow. So to answer the question, we will follow state law in that I don't use in the past elections here in the city of Carson that I've conducted, I didn't follow a county guideline. I followed the guidelines that was set forth by the elections code. So I'm not really sure I understood the comment that we follow county registrar recorders guidelines, but we do lend to them for certain services. For example, voter registration, we lend to them for signature verification. So we would follow their guidelines in that instance. But the question that came up or the comment was made relative to ballot designation. So in that instance, no, we will lend to the elections code. But there are other instances in the election process where we would lend to the county registrar recorders guidelines relative to the services that they provide to us.
Well, I thank you for coming. I'm not voting for it because I think we have a competent city clerk. I think this is a way to discredit her because she's not counting votes. She's answering questions and doing things like that. And she'll have staff and volunteers, the Carson Women's Club and so forth and so on. So I'm just, it's just anything that we can do to discredit our city clerk. In my opinion, it may be wrong, but I just can't support this because I'm insulted that and I appreciate you coming out, but you're not going to be able to do anything that she's not going to do for whatever she makes an hour for 12 hours, and you're going to get $25,000. And we're always sitting up here talking about the taxpayers' money. I don't want to spend the taxpayers' money on this. And here we are getting ready to give you $25,000. You or someone that looks like you. I have a problem. That's it.
Chair recognizes Councilmember Gibson.
Thank you very much. I'm greatly concerned by this item before us tonight to make a decision. I think the history has shown that Helen has served this community in her office as a city clerk, and she's performed her duties that has been of note. She's carried it out in a fashion that is professional and also fair. And it was also indicated the past history showed that it was only to a time where she was a candidate running for mayor against the mayor, in which the council voted to bring someone else in. I'm not going to question good, bad, and different. That was the council then. But I will question in terms of what we're doing. This is not the same case. The city clerk whose position is elected will not be running for mayor of the city of Carson. That position is not up. The city clerk's position is up. And again, Helen has in fact performed, when she was the city clerk of the city, the longest serving city clerk of the city, she did her own elections. It has also been brought out that what the city clerk's roles and responsibility actually are. It is not to count the ballots, not the votes. It was also indicated the guidelines that are set forth by the state and county, that they're interchangeable, and that's the extent of the city clerk's roles and responsibility. I believe at the end of the ballot count, there's a signing and things of that nature. But everybody already know at that particular point in time how that election has come out. And I think that we don't want to set precedents. I don't want to spend, again, taxpayers' money. I don't want the perception to be out there that the city clerk, for some reason, unbeknownst to me, cannot conduct this election in a very impartial and a professional fashion. I believe that I have great confidence in her ability to do such. And I believe each member that's on the ballot have that same confidence. If not, then it will be reflected, at least in tonight's vote, whether or not that confidence is in fact holds true. Because I believe, we shouldn't be, maybe it's just my mama, saying one thing to one person one time and then turn around and doing something else totally different. You want to praise somebody, then you want to turn around and stab them in the back behind the scenes and trying to discredit them. Again, I believe that she has done a yeoman's job as relates to the city clerk's office. She has brought it up to a modern day and age that we're all pleased with. I don't see any reason for this. I don't see any reason for us to spend taxpayers' money at $25,000. Again, spending I can think of a whole lot of things to do with $25,000 that we can use for youth programs. We can increase the bullying dollar amount from $55,000 to $75,000. We can do a lot with $25,000. I'm not sure that this is a good use of taxpayers' money to go down this road. And I would just, again, ask my colleagues, because it takes 3 votes, and I understand that, not to do this, not to set precedents by doing this. Again, we're talking about $25,000. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And it's a lot of money to give to Miss Deborah. I don't know your last name, Miss
Right.
Deborah. And there's no offense. Please believe this is not against you. I think that you have a good record. I think that, again, if our city clerk, and I understand it to be the case, Ms. Wright, that our city clerk did recommend you because of your professionalism and your work ethics and your ability to do the job. And I have no question as it relates to that. And also, Lucretia Gibson said hello. And so I just don't believe that we should.
Back to her.
My wife and her worked in the county, and so that's how we know each other. But again, I don't think that's a conflict. No financial gain here. But
See, he's arguing against it,
yeah.
so it's
But again, I just want to caution us. You know, I would like to make a motion that we not do this for the reasons that has been said already. So my motion is that we not do this, that we move forward with the city clerk in her role and capacity as a city clerk. Can I get a second?
Okay, there's a motion by Gibson, second by Davis Holmes. I'll make a substitute motion that we do this, and here's the reasons why. Democracy is not cheap. We want to, of course, eliminate any perceptions of conflict of interest. If you're a candidate running for city clerk and your opponent is a person operating the absentee ballot program, collecting the ballots, seeing the ballots before anyone else sees the ballots, that all is done by the city clerk's office. And if you're the city clerk, you have an unfair advantage over the other candidates. That's why I put this on the agenda. And $25,000 is a very small amount of money for increasing the perception of eliminating conflict of interest. You know, it's not about a person, it's about a process. And it's about how we in Carson want to be looked at outside our city as well as inside our city. And so Deborah Wright is totally competent to do this from her experience.
If I could make a comment.
Yes, you may.
I would say, I haven't counted them, but I'd say probably roughly half the city clerks in the state of California are elected. And I just wanted to, for the record, correct.
Half are elected, you mean?
Elected.
Well, ours has never been elected.
City clerks.
Our city clerk has never been elected to the office of city clerk in Carson. She's appointed.
But you have an elected city clerk. You did
We have the position of elected city clerk. She would be
position.
running for it for the first time.
Correct.
If she ran.
My point is that there were some errors there. Probably you've never had occasion to be in the office to observe at that level of detail. City clerk does not have the opportunity to affect the outcome, nor to see ballots prior to their being tabulated. It does not work.
No. The absentee ballot program. They don't know who applied for absentee ballots. They don't know who was mailed an absentee ballot?
And so did the candidates if they want that information.
Okay, who sees them first? I know I've been a candidate many times in the city of Carson, so I have observed this operation many times, and the perception is, and maybe it's not the actual case, but the perception, Ms. Wright, is that the city clerk knows before anyone else knows who applies for an absentee ballot.
It didn't matter.
I'm over use.
I guess by a factor of a day, perhaps.
Okay. A factor of a day, so they do know.
And I don't really think that most city clerks, including your own, would have the time to sit and study the list of who applied. I think they're about the process.
Ours does. They have a very competent staff that does a lot of work in that office. And our city clerk basically is a part-time position that is paid full-time. If the city clerk doesn't come to work, the city clerk has no supervisor, and they could take a day off anytime they want, and that's the nature of the position because it's an elected position. And so they do have prerogatives, they do have authority over their staff, and they do make their own decisions. They make their own work hours, they make their own work days. If they want to go to a conference, they don't ask anyone. They have an elected official's position, so they can go off anytime they want. So that's the case. If the city clerk were to go away without telling anyone for a week, the office would run the same. Nothing would change if the city clerk just went home one day and didn't come back the next day or the next day or the next day. The office would run the same in the city of Carson. That's the facts on the ground. So don't want to be dramatic about it. Don't want to argue about it with my colleagues. It's just democracy, like I said, is cost money. And I think that we want to project out the most equitable and fair way of doing this. That's why I put this on the agenda for consideration. It's not saying someone's good or bad. It's not saying someone's going to be unfair. It's just, and if people want to choose to be insulted, anyone can choose to be insulted any day they wanted. And that's just, to me, is drama. And we don't have that in Carson. So that's why it's on here.
Well, not to be in the position of arguing against what's
Right.
my
For
own
your own
interest.
insulting work, yeah.
But I really don't think the election would be conducted in a more impartial manner if I were there. I can guarantee you that it would be if I were there, but I don't know of any reason to think that it would be otherwise.
Right, and we don't think so either. We're just talking about perceptions.
Well-
and the perceptions are different than facts. And you're factually correct. So let's go to the next speaker. That is Councilman Robles, I believe. We're going to list here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a question, I guess a historical question. I know we all talk about Helen and the great job she did as a clerk, and that everyone trusted her and had faith and the utmost respect and confidence in her. But yet, one time, there was a consultant brought in because she was running for mayor. And my question, and my colleagues, from their comments, they seemed to accept that was okay.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, what? Oh, okay.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, so you? Oh,
No, it
okay.
wasn't.
Okay. All right. I misunderstood.
As a matter of fact, Councilman, I was requested to come at that time.
Oh,
And
okay.
to stand in and watch over Helen Cowgoy, who had decades more experience than I did, and I refused to come because I thought it was insulting and was uncalled for. So,
No.
Okay. So I misunderstood my colleagues' comments. I thought that they were.
they did find a consultant, but
So, but I'm curious. So, it passed the council. It was approved, right? Do you know if it was approved unanimously?
I remember
And what was
newspaper that the city council at the time savaged that consultant in chambers.
what was the reason given?
I don't recall. I just knew that it was messy, and I had a
Which part?
reputation to
You mean
defend.
the vote to do it?
The whole process.
Oh.
The city attorney at that time contacted me, and I needed the money and the work, but I was afraid my reputation was going to be shredded if I came to this city to do that under those circumstances. So I said no.
Okay.
So
And
I recognize I'm cutting my own bait.
so what happened?
They hired someone else, and she did not fare well because it was a no-win situation.
When you say she didn't fare well,
No matter what she did, some portion of the council was angry with her.
but the election results.
The election went fine
The election went fine.
because California has laws in place to ensure that the election goes fine. Ever since 2000, people think because the Supreme Court stuck their feet into elections that it's easy to rig an election. It is not, and it doesn't happen. I've been doing this for 20 years. It does not.
Well, let me suggest to you the ways it can be rigged.
It doesn't happen in real life.
May I speak?
Yeah.
On election day, the poll workers, they can discourage individuals of a certain persuasion or a certain look to vote or not vote. They could allow them to vote provisionally or not vote provisionally. And that happened. And it happens today. True? Do you accept that?
I do, but I don't see its relevance to the city clerk
Well,
conducting the
so
election.
one of my questions to you is, I would hope that you as an election official would be very concerned whenever that happens, and that you would take all steps necessary to correct that and prevent that from happening again.
Certainly.
So you just acknowledge that it does happen, and you've seen it happen, so you've taken steps to correct that from happening again. So that's one of the things that I would look to for you to do to make sure that that doesn't happen, not only this election, but moving forward. Because it happened last time. And it didn't happen at a poll station that was, at the end of the city, north, east, west, or south. It happened at the poll station that was right here at the community center. I had people going there that were prevented from voting. They were told that they could not vote and not offered the opportunity to submit a provisional ballot. And again, was their English not the best? Maybe. Did they not look professional and wear a coat and tie? Maybe. But they're still entitled to vote. And just because their name isn't on a voter roll, they're entitled to a provisional ballot. And unless these poll workers are told and properly trained, that's going to continue.
I'm sure your city clerk would agree.
Well, but so when it happened, complaints were filed with the city clerk and the county registrar's office, and nothing was done about it. Nothing was done about it. And Ms. DeWitt is back there, and she knows because she was taking the complaints.
Councilmember Robles.
I'm not finished. So I think that, and I'm not saying that was done intentionally. I'm not saying that was done on purpose with the goal and objective to have a particular end. What I'm saying is that it happened. And there was no corrective action taken at that time. And to this day, I'm not aware of any corrective actions being taken. And my hope is that you or someone with your level of experience would take that part of the election process and try to prevent that from happening. I heard comments made that this is insulting to Ms. Goss, and I actually think you can make the other argument that this actually helps her, because no one's going to be challenging her integrity or her handling of this election, because they'll be blaming you or someone like you, not her. I mean, it actually, I think the argument is that it helps her.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Council Robles, you complete?
Yes.
Let's go to Council Member Davis Holmes.
Just wrote down a few of your comments. Unfair advantage is what you said earlier. But you know, I'm fighting somebody else's battle. So I'm going to be quiet. Because if I knew it was me, I wouldn't be sitting there as quiet and nice as my city clerk, but she's more respectful than I am. So I'm going to leave it alone. Because when we start talking about this last election and the ballots being this, let's talk about all those absentee ballots that people went around and picked up and signed them off for somebody else. So, you know, those are rumors. But this is not my battle. I'm just saying that I'm against it. I think we have a competent city clerk. We've done it for years. For 40 years, Helen ran the election. When we brought in an outside consultant when she was running for mayor, it was a fiasco. So, you know, let's not beat this horse to death. I'm voting no. You have enough votes. Evidently, she thought you had enough votes, so you wouldn't be here to get this done. So let's stop beating this horse to death. Go on and vote and get it over with.
Okay, Ms. Giles, did you want to say something?
Mr. Mayor and City Council, I just want to say that whether I'm on the ballot or not, I truly believe and am confident that I can be an elections official in a fair and impartial way and ensure the residents of Carson that I would do it with the utmost integrity and transparent manner possible. I have conducted many elections in the city of Long Beach. Ms. Wright is here to confirm that. Over 12 elections. There were a few misstatements, you know, comments made about election day. Voters were turned away at the polls. That particular instance was brought to my attention, and I personally walked over to that polling place and had a discussion with with the inspector and the poll workers. Well, it is a training issue. That would be taken up by comments made during our training. I would, in that case, make sure that our trainer would put an emphasis on provisional voting. The training is not even conducted by the elections official in the city of Carson. It's actually conducted by Martin and Chapman. So the statements made that I, as the elections official, would be privy to information prior to any other candidates is false, in a sense that the reports are made to all of the candidates, which voters have requested a vote by mail ballot. So I would probably have that information. Actually, staff may have that information, and if I inquired and asked for it, I can get it maybe a few hours before any other candidate. But technically, if I'm working, what benefit would that information have if I'm working? But again, I did contact Ms. Wright in an effort to ensure the residents of Carson that we had an elections official that would conduct the election in the same manner that I would if I was conducting it. So I saw it as a double-edged sword. Whatever the pleasure of the city council would be tonight, I'm available to be the elections official. But if it's the pleasure of you to hire someone else, I wanted to at least ensure my supporters and others and the residents of the city of Carson that they have an elections official that would do it in a fair and impartial manner. So that's, you know, pretty much all I have to say. I don't take it personal that you believe that I just take it that you don't really know the process of elections to think that the elections official could do anything to manipulate the election. And that's all I'm going to say to that.
Okay, before we go to Councilman Santee, Ms. Wright, I have a question for you.
Sure.
When candidates submit their statement of qualifications, does the city clerk see that?
Typically, staff would ensure that it has the right word count, and depending on policy in the city, in some cities staff is instructed to point out, let's say, punctuation errors, so that the candidate has an opportunity to correct that. And it depends on the size of the city. When I worked in the city of Long Beach, no, city clerk did not look at those. And candidates typically those are made available to everybody at the same time. They become public at the appropriate time, and that's when candidates look at them.
But that's my point. If you're the candidate and you're the city clerk, you might look at it a week before anyone else sees it. You might see your opponent's statement before you even submit your own statement, if you're the city clerk. The city clerk could see it.
Theoretically.
Theoretically, yes. Right. And so that's a point that is contrary to what the city clerk just stated. She says no advantage. That's a definite advantage. If you know what your opponent's statement says, you can customize your statement to rebut that. You have ideas from their statement you could gather. There's a lot of advantages. And so I'm trying to protect, maybe there'll be 10 people running for this office. This is an open office. It has an appointed person in the office who's never been elected to the office. And we may have 10 candidates or 11 candidates. We don't know how many candidates. So in all fairness to those candidates, that's why I put this on the agenda. And believe me, we know elections, and we know that there's wrongdoing. We had a poll worker in Carson doing a recall attempt. I went and voted at my polling place. I then went back, and my neighbor went to vote, and he brought a friend with him. Polling worker, he was just joking. He said, "Oh, I haven't decided whether to vote yes or no on the recall." The poll worker said directly to the voter, "Vote yes." I reported that to the city clerk. She then had a talk with that poll worker, and that poll worker no longer was asked to work as a poll worker.
So the system worked.
System worked, but guess what? The poll worker was back in the last election. That's not good. So let's go to Councilmember Santorina.
All right. Many things have been said already, details. I can add some more to the experiences that we have had here in the city of Carson during election time. But I'm not going to go into those anymore. I'll just say this. Perception is perception. There are not only 10, but hundreds and hundreds and maybe thousands of people out there do know that our city clerk is a candidate. Believe me, I am not questioning the integrity of or will not question the integrity of our city clerk. But here's what I'd like to add to this conversation now. All I want is for Ms. Gauze, because she's a candidate, to really work hard as a candidate, concentrate on her campaign so that she can prove to all of us, to the world, that she is really a very competent and very knowledgeable city clerk. And before the election day and on election day, all I want is for her to sit down, relax, and have a cup of tea or coffee and watch watch the election being conducted officially, normally, and in a peaceful manner. You know, that she doesn't have to really, because I know she will be, of course, excited and tense because she's a candidate. But I'm not. This is not to say that she is going to be. I will be questioning her integrity, her expertise, and all that. No, just relax. Be as a candidate, Ms. Gauze. So that's why I am inclined to really vote for a consultant, because I really want her to have that piece of pie. And never mind this perception and all of that. Concentrate in what you're doing, and people will, definitely will believe in you, and you will be elected for the first time. Okay, thank you. As simple as that.
Council- If you complete, we'll go to Councilmember Gibson next.
Yeah, well, I hear the discussion. I see how it's going. Let's just go vote. So, let's go vote.
Councilman Robles, you're queued up again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did forget to mention that I do want to applaud Ms. Gauze for her professionalism, even at this very moment. Contacting you and the way she handled this issue, I think, shows great professionalism and integrity, and that I was remiss for not mentioning that earlier.
Okay, Councilmembers, let's go to a vote on the motion. Cast your vote, please.
Your substitute motion?
Yeah, my substitute motion. Okay, the substitute motion passes. Mayor Deere, Mayor Pro Tem Santorina, Councilmember Robles, and 2 no votes by Councilman Gibson, Councilmember Davis Holmes. Now let's go to item number 30. 30 is reconsider adopting resolution declaring a fiscal emergency, calling for a special election consolidation, requesting preparation of an impartial analysis, and setting priorities for submitting arguments related to extending the term of the utility user tax from June 30th, 2016 by 7 years to June 30th, 2023. Staff report, please.
Yes.
City Attorney.
Yes. Thank.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to suggest that we do 29,
First?
the poll.
First?
Yeah,
Oh, you want that?
to see the results.
Oh, okay.
Right? Yeah. So, well, but I need the poll information to make the arguments for the November election.
In that case, we'll go to 29 first.
I'm good at missing a theory.
Albert. Huh? No. We're going to call a 5-minute recess. We're in recess, all 3 agencies. Mr. Winder, Mr. Nell.